We're chatting about gluten and why everybody reacts differently to it. Hello, welcome to She Knows Me with Rosie, where we cover all things wellness, health and weight loss, and we specialise in plant-based weight loss for women. We're on part 3 with regards to the topic gluten, and we have to cover one or two things in this video just for some clarity, and then we have a conclusion of your takeaway with regards to gluten. To gluten or to not to gluten? No. We are going to recap gluten-containing grains, oats and cross-contamination, and then our general takeaway with regards to gluten. Okay, just to recap what grains contain gluten naturally and what grains don't. Gluten-containing grains are wheat, rye, barley and spelt. So with wheat, you have whole wheat everything, or pastas, everything, whole wheat. Cereals, flours, pasta, bread, pizza, baked goods, all of that goes under gluten. And your non-gluten grains would be rice, quinoa, teff, sorghum, millet, buckwheat, amaranth, gluten-free pasta, and gluten-free oats. That takes me on to the oats topic. What about oats and gluten-free oats? Oats are naturally gluten-free grain, but it's 2021 and cross-contamination does happen within factories and where your oats gets packaged. I would just recommend opt for gluten-free oats most days, as you know your own threshold, and you don't want to unnecessarily be consuming gluten if you have a reaction to it without you knowing. There's a fun fact about oats. Oats has, just like gluten is the protein molecule in a gluten-containing grain, avenelin is the protein molecule that is inside of oats. And there's a possibility that if you are reacting quite severely to gluten, that you could be reacting to avenelin as your body sees it. It's very similar. So if you're having oats and you're actually experiencing digestive discomfort, maybe neurological symptoms, try the gluten-free oats and see if you have some relief from it. I personally was gluten-free, completely gluten-free, and I would have my oats every morning. It was just like routine, and I started feeling like, yes, my gut was struggling. My digestive symptoms were quite hectic, and I swapped it out for gluten-free oats, and honestly can tell you there was such a relief in that, because I love me some oats in the morning, and it would have been devastating if I had to cut that out of my life. Also, just remember, with gluten-free products, they remove gluten, so that's the protein. They remove the protein from the grain or whatever, the product. With oats, they're also removing the protein from the grain to make it gluten-free, just that you understand what is actually happening in the process. Okay, and then our next topic is IgE and IgG mediated reactions to food, and this is a topic on its own because you also have different camps where you have people believe that they solely go on IgE and IgG testing, and then you have a different camp saying that it's absolute nonsense. So I'm just going to touch on it and just explain what it is. You can go more in depth, like I say, if you go onto Dr. Stephen Cabral's site and you actually type in IgE and IgG, there's so much information about it. So do yourself a favor if you are interested in it. So just briefly, allergy blood tests measure the amount of IgE antibodies in the blood. So a small amount of IgE, normal. A larger amount would be a higher reaction, which is not normal. You could be reacting to food as a food allergy. So when we talk about the 72 hours after consuming foods where you may have a reaction, that is your IgG. So your IgG reaction is a delayed reaction. So it's not immediately IgE. The delayed reaction is your IgG reaction that you could have on a specific food item. But honestly, it boils down to your specific individual response and tolerances you have for you. Know your own severity. They honestly they lace almost everything with gluten. So look at your labels, opt for gluten-free most of the time. When consciously wanting to consume gluten, go for minimally processed gluten options. Know your amounts and personal tolerance to it, and plan when you're wanting to have these foods. Become your own science project. Set yourself up for success, comfort, and sanity. I would recommend opt for locally made, minimal processed gluten-containing foods instead of your very highly processed packaged foods. Let's talk about the conclusion with regards to our beloved gluten. So there's a bit of a takeaway here, what and how you should be living your life in this gluten confused world. Firstly, if you have celiac, remove gluten 100% from your diet, completely. Full stop, we're done here. Moving on. If you have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, so NCGS, go for the gluten-free options. Remove gluten as much as possible out of your diets. Have a timeline between when you last had gluten and when you have gluten again, and see if your tolerance, if you react quite high to gluten, I would say just remove it completely and have it that once a week, if possible, if even once a week. Try not have it within 72 hours of each other, because you will feel even worse than what you could even imagine. If you consume gluten and you don't have digestive symptoms or any other symptoms, I would recommend not to have gluten every single day, and then when incorporating gluten, have it, enjoy it, even if you are denying the effects that your immune system can have with regards to consuming gluten. The amounts and frequency play a role in your specific situation, you as an individual. Take me to my last thing. Be your own science project. Learn your own tolerance to gluten and your own threshold for gluten causing inflammation to the body. Can't imagine a life completely without gluten, but I do know the effects that it has on the body. So find some balance somewhere with regards to your sanity and what you personally can tolerate. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'd really appreciate it if you can like and subscribe to my channel. It will really support my channel if you do that, and then the views and subscriptions is huge. Then also, if you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, we're going to link it up above. And if there's any questions or comments, please leave that for me down below, and then we will see you in the next video.